Welcome, how are you? I have Dolores Whelan with me. You're with Destination Uri. Good to see you, Dolores.
Good morning.
A woman of spirituality and Celtic history and an awareness of the things that have been, that were important, have gone, but in some way are still with us. What are we talking? This is your lovely Celtic calendar, perpetual Celtic calendar. But we're at a time, Samhain?
Samhain, yeah.
Samhain has come and gone, has it?
No.
Is it Friday?
Samhain is on Friday, Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
Because Samhain is the most important festival of the 8 seasons of the Celtic year. And it is the beginning of the year. And it is the word, the name Samhain actually comes from an old word which means 3 days at the end of summer. And Samhain is a time in between time, where when we start the festival of Samhain, it's at the end of one year, and when we're finished it's at the beginning of the next year. So it's time out of time.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I'm picking up things here from the calendar. It's the kind of the stepping stone into the season of darkness,
Absolutely,
death.
absolutely.
But rebirth comes very quickly after.
Well, you see, that's the wonderful magic and the power of living with and studying the Celtic calendar, which holds a huge amount of the essential wisdom of the Celtic and the pre-Celtic people. And one of their hugely important concepts is regeneration.
Yeah.
And regeneration can only happen when you go into the darkness. So at Samhain, which is the beginning of the Celtic year, the journey begins by descending and surrendering into darkness and death until we come to the time of the winter solstice on the 21st of December, when the light is at its lowest, the life force is at its lowest. But at that very moment, the regeneration begins. It's wonderfully paradoxical.
And it's also cross-cultural in the sense that the message of the dying wheat has to, the husk of wheat has to die before it can bring forth a new life.
Absolutely.
So Christianity and Celticism aren't that a million miles apart?
Oh, not at all. People say to me, is what you do Christian or pre-Christian? I said, you can't speak like that. It's both.
It is
because
both.
Christianity, when it took root in Ireland, took root in a very specific way, because it came into a country that had a very, very strong Druidic tradition and a great connection with the natural world. That was the locus of much of a spirituality, even though it also understood the transcendent. So when Christianity took root here, it was like going another turn of the spiral. It became from Celtic spirituality to Celtic Christian spirituality.
Because when Patrick, for example, went to talk to the Druids, the High Kings and the like, and said, look, I want to come and tell you about this new God, if they'd perceived it to have been alien, foreign, different, and difficult, they wouldn't have so quickly said, come ahead, and made friends with him.
And actually, the wonderful thing is that there are many stories that say that the Druids actually had foretold the coming of Christianity and were expecting this new wave of energy, which is what it is. What Christianity was, a new wave of energy 2,000 years ago, a higher vibration than the vibration that had been before.
Where do you think the Celtic people that were about pre-Christian, all of that way gone, they're all dead and gone now. Where have they gone? Where have the Celtic people gone?
Well, I think we are the
Where are we?
Where are we? Well,
are we reborn as we are?
I don't know.
Reincarnation, is it?
I don't know. I I know that
That's a wonderfully honest answer. I don't know.
I don't know because we haven't, what I do know is that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So therefore, when I die in my physical body, I do also, and this is a hugely important aspect of the Celtic tradition, is that the other world was hugely important, very available to people, no more times more powerfully than at Samhain. Samhain and Bealtaine, 2 gates, one the gate into the dark.
Bealtaine, where are we with Bealtaine? Is May. I was born in Bealtaine.
Yeah.
And I am, for some reason, I'm hugely proud of having been born in May.
Wow.
Now, I cannot tell you why.
Well,
But I would hate to have been born in any other month under the sun.
right. Well,
Isn't
there
that
you
strange?
Yeah, no.
There's
it's-
some connectivity
Yeah.
that I do not understand that ties me into May.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And-
was born in September, and
Yeah.
I love September.
Yeah.
It's my favorite month.
And my mother gave me the name, and it's the most strange thing. Like, where in heaven's name would my mother have got the name 70 years ago in
Yeah.
Uri, Rowan,
Yeah.
when she called my brother Ignatius and somebody else Rory?
Yeah.
And Rowan, of course, is the berry on the tree. and
Rowan,
the
Rowan is
Mount
one of the really important trees in the Celtic tree oracle. It's the tree of protection.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tree of protection. But just going
So
back to
proud.
where do we go? you
Yeah.
know, Samhain is a time, one of the great things about Samhain is that Samhain is a time when the veil between this world and the other world is thin. And that is why we have all of these behaviors that happen now in the form of trick or treat.
Yeah.
But they were all very ancient practices within the Celtic spiritual tradition, ones that we would even have remembered ourselves growing up, like, for example, taking the gates off farmers' fields.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and
That
do you know
could
what
have
that's
serious
about?
consequences.
But do you know what that's about? The boundaries were open.
Yeah.
So the actual physical manifestation of that was taking the gates off. In the Celtic society, it was very structured, and so people all had a particular place in the world. But in these 3 days, the normal rules of society were relaxed.
Yes.
And so you could be in the role of something that you couldn't possibly be in your ordinary life.
Yeah.
Me too. And cross-dressing was
Yeah.
very popular, which is the origin of the dressing up
Yes,
at
yes,
Halloween.
yes.
The apples, when you cut an apple in the middle, you get a pentagon in the center.
Yes, yes.
And that's the sign. That's one of the signs of the other world.
Wow.
And so the apple is the fruit of the other world, Avalon.
Avalon.
Yeah. And so there's nothing at all on. What would you say? There's nothing strange about it. It's just we have forgotten the stories.
And we talk about the thinness of the curtain between the now and the after
Yes.
at this time.
Yes,
Should
usually.
we fear that which may come through?
No.
And,
And
do things come through?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's very interesting. One thing I've been observing is that all the emphasis at Halloween is on fear. I notice it I gave a talk in my local market the other morning, just on the
Where
spur-
is your local market?
Ravensdale in
Lo-
County
it's
Le-
still going?
Yes, it is.
Ah,
And
yeah.
out of the blues.
Wonderful.
And all the children were all dressed up with their witches' hats and their beautiful dresses. And it was all, a lot of it was based on fear. And I saw a big poster for something called a Screech Fest. And I
Oh, my
thought,
God.
but the interesting thing is that we do have a tremendous fear of the other world, because some people actually don't believe it exists, and other people believe that it is a very negative thing. The other world is the place where our ancestors are. And we talk about our beloved dead. And the ancestors are those who gave rise to us.
Yeah.
And we are the ancestors of the next generation.
We are,
and
we
the
are,
generations
we
to
are.
come. So life is always a continuum.
But let's try and put meaning to the concept of this other world where the ancestors are. What's the box, the place, the shelf that the ancestors inhabit now? Is there a physicality to it?
Well, it's a different dimension, so it's a different vibration. So I haven't been there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know that people exist in non-material yet real realities.
Yeah.
In the Celtic tradition, there are loads and loads of stories about going out, going across the water to the land of Tirnamo and the land of the cows and the lands of the women and the lands on their way to the other world. And many of those, they're all, if you like, states of consciousness, states of being, but they're not physical in the way that you and I are physical,
Yeah.
but yet they're real.
They're real inside my mind.
Well, they're real in
My
real.
mother is
Yeah.
real inside my mind.
course.
My ancestors, they're all there, living
Yeah.
every day.
Sure.
They're as
And-
close to me as my next breath.
Yeah, and they're living with you and through you and in you. And
And the sneezes, by the way, I'm sorry. Please
Yeah, it's
continue,
okay.
please
Yeah.
continue.
But the thing about it is that it's very hard for us to put language on it, because in order to really describe these kinds of things or dimensions, we need to look at mythology, and we as a culture do not value mythology. We think it's lies. Myths are lies.
We used not.
Yeah.
We once upon a time we valued it.
Absolutely.
But then came the sort of push the button and it jumps.
Exactly. And we have lost that. Like, if you think, one of the great things that happen at Samhain, when the winter comes in, that people would sit around the fire and tell stories. Now, stories are the way in which human beings connect with each other. Whether the story is actually 100% factually true is totally immaterial.
Yep.
Because it creates an ambience, an atmosphere. It actually speaks to a part of our mind that needs to be nourished. And that's what gets nourished in the dark evenings when we live in harmony with the natural world.
I think this is wonderful. Will you come back to me soon?
Oh, I will, yeah, for the winter solstice.
But what are you doing on Friday?
On Friday?
At this time?
I'm not sure.
You and I shall talk, because it would be lovely to, on the day of Samhain,
yes,
to actually celebrate it.
Yes,
and if we can't do it on Friday, we can do a retrospective next week. And think about it, because this is so interesting. I don't think we can do it in 15 minutes.
No, and I think also too, I think there's a lot. No, I'd be delighted to do it.
I think we shall.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of dying?
No.
Nor am I.
No,
I'm
not afraid of dying.
Isn't it?
But I was thinking about it. I couldn't sleep last night, and I was just focusing on my breath, and I was thinking, am I afraid of dying? And I thought, no, I wasn't thinking of dying last night.
No.
But I just thought, am I afraid of dying? And then you see, what dying is letting go.
Yes.
And in every moment of our lives, we're invited to let go.
And we don't want to let go.
No, we don't.
I have a stack of things there, and it's holding me back.
Oh, well,
that I won't let go of.
Yeah, well, can I just tell you that I've spent the last 2 weeks letting go. And almost everybody I know is decluttering at the moment.
Yeah.
This is very interesting, because you were, at this time, you get rid of what no longer serves you.
Wow.
Yeah, get rid of what no longer serves you. So there's a clean slate. I moved my office last weekend from one room to another. One room wasn't working. It was driving me mad. And I tolerated it. And as you say, we don't let go of things that don't serve us.
But what about people? Should we let go of people who no longer serve us?
Absolutely. Well, that sounds very callous.
But let's put it another way. People with whom situations have changed.
Oh, absolutely. And again, we find that hard to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we do.
This is why someone gets divorced in a day, but becomes divorced in 10 years.
Well, I think that's really interesting.
You
see, I think that there are no instant, and actually to become married or to become divorced is actually a process.
Yes, absolutely.
When you get married, on the day you get married, that's the beginning of the situation.
Yeah.
You don't get married, you're not married that day, you begin a process. Right. Yeah. When you get divorced, you begin a process of divorce. Yeah.
So gorgeous to have you here. Thank you. We have all your details.
Yes.
Come back again.
I will, absolutely.
My Scottish friends would say, haste ye back.
Haste ye back.
Dolores Whelan, thank you
very
so
much. Thank
you,
you, Ron.
We were in his hands now.
Kelly's is a well-known and